Welcome to our third episode of Dive In with the DOV. I'm Jillian Pinchevsky.
I'm Mia Gilliam.
And I'm Erica Fissel.
And we're your hosts for today. And we're so excited for Dr. Leah Butler to be joining us today. She's our first DOV sponsor spotlight. And we're so excited to tell you a little bit more about her, to hear from her and all the exciting things she has going on. So thanks so much for joining us today, Leah.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So I have the unique fortune to have had the pleasure of knowing Leah since we were little teeny undergrads at Ohio University, where we did our undergrad together. And then we kind of went different ways. Well, she stayed in Athens and I went to Cincinnati for master's. And then we were back together again at the University of Cincinnati for our PhDs.
Leah recently defended her dissertation at the end of June, which was titled Race and Redemption at a Correctional Turning Point, which is not only, super timely research, but we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But so in just a few weeks, she's actually starting a new position as an assistant professor at the School of Criminology and Criminal Justice at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. So congrats from all of us and all of our viewers/listeners and all these really exciting things that are happening.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a little bit of excitement in an otherwise very awful 2020. So Leah, for everyone watching and listening in, could you tell us a little bit about, your research and in particular your dissertation and because that's your most recent piece of research?
Yeah, so my dissertation, like you said, it's titled Race and Redemption at a Correctional Turning Point, and it's about public opinion of corrections policy, and really it kind of expands the public opinion research in two ways. First, a lot of public opinion research in criminal justice is focused on explaining public punitiveness, which makes sense given that we have been the most punitive country in the world, as Peter Enns says, for decades. But we're starting to see this correctional turning point, as said in my title, where we're moving toward refocusing on rehabilitation and also trying to move beyond rehabilitation and move toward redemption or, getting rid of the collateral consequences of incarceration and trying to create pathways for people who've been incarcerated to rejoin society as full citizens and members of their communities. And then the second way that I think it extends prior research is it focuses on how racial attitudes affect correctional policy. And most research in that area has focused on racial animus or racial resentment. And my dissertation introduces a new concept of racial sympathy and also includes a measure of white nationalism. So it shows how those three racial attitudes affect these policy opinions.
Awesome. That sounds really interesting.
Thank you.
So I actually attended Leah's dissertation virtually, and you mentioned something really interesting when you were talking about this idea of racial sympathy and how, we see that there are so many people going out and protesting right now, and not just protesting, but they're putting themselves in potentially harm's way. They're getting tear gas and all this stuff. Plus, this is all going on with a pandemic happening in our country or across the globe. So could you speak a little bit about what you think that means for our society?
Yeah, I think, the concept of racial sympathy is really timely. Jennifer Chudy, she's a political scientist, she came up with this concept and she defines it as white people's distress over the suffering of Black people. And so I think that that's exactly what we're seeing right now. We're seeing millions of people all around the world not only feeling distress over the suffering of Black people, but also going out and taking action in response to that distress. And that involves, donating to organizations, going out and marching, being vocal at a company or an organization. So I think that concept of racial sympathy kind of applies here more or it tells more of the story of racial attitudes than racial resentment alone. We're seeing now that people aren't just racially resentful or not racially resentful. You know, people aren't just defined by their degrees of racism. They're also defined by the positive racial attitudes that they have and the beliefs that they have that promote racial justice.
A really awesome twist. I hadn't even I'd never heard of that before. Is such an optimistic or positive way to kind of talk about race in a way that's not typically done in the mainstream kind of conversation of it. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. And I mean, obviously when you started this dissertation, you weren't anticipating what was going on in the country at the time that you were defending this dissertation. But it really can, you know, give people another way of looking at what's going on nationally, but globally. Yeah, incredibly important and incredibly timely. Kudos.
Thank you.
Could you, and go where you want to with this, but talk a little bit about, you know, your research agenda, whether that's next steps with your dissertation, other kinds of cool things you're working on?
Sure. So I kind of define my research interests as, you know, having two paths. The one path is corrections, and these paths sort of can intertwine, I hope. One area is corrections, so I hope with my dissertation, you know, it's great. It's national level survey data using YouGov, so it's really great data with these new measures. So I'm hoping to pursue a lot of public opinion research out of that data set, and also we'll be able to conduct another YouGov survey hopefully in the next year or two to kind of further pursue that line of public opinion of corrections. And then the other main area that I do research in is victimology. So I'm definitely sticking with that path also. Erica and I have a project that we've been working on for a while, and we're about to finish our first paper from that project. Yeah, it's been a long road, but we have great data also with that. So that's on intimate partner cyber abuse. Yeah, that project is super interesting, and I'm excited to do more with those data. And then also I've done some stuff on bystander intervention, continuing to do stuff in that area. And really the thing that ties my victimology research together is this concept of social construction. So that's something that's kind of woven throughout my research on intimate partner violence, bystander intervention, Title IX policy at universities. So that's kind of what I'm really interested in. I love social constructionist research, so probably going to keep doing more of that.
And all timely. You talk about the Title IX stuff, and I mean, with all of the changes to Title IX and the uncertainty on what that, you know, means for everyone, you know, all of your stuff is really, really timely and really important.
Thank you. So yeah, with Title IX, Victims and Offenders did a special issue that was all about policy under the Trump administration. So I wrote an article for that special issue on Title IX policy under the Trump administration. And this was last summer. It was with Bonnie Fisher and Heejin Lee. This was last summer when the changes to Title IX, the rulemaking changes, were still not finalized. They had collected the public comments. So it was kind of about the history of Title IX policy and then these new changes, which now have been put in place largely in the same state that they were in back when we wrote that article. So it's definitely interesting to see these changes moving forward and thinking about how they might continue to move forward in the future.
Yeah, and it remains to be seen what impact, because universities can make their own, like they can be stricter than the guidelines. Is that my understanding of it? Yeah, some aspects of it make that possible. They changed what the DeVos administration as Secretary of Education has done is she's issued rules, which is more like you have to follow rules. Rules describe how the law is applied, whereas the guidance under the Obama administration
can be changed more easily. Like you can just issue new guidance. You don't have to go through the lengthy rulemaking process. So new rule makes it so that you can choose. So you could still choose to use that lower standard, which makes it more likely that you can hold someone accountable,
Mm-hmm.
Lower standard of evidence. But you can also choose to use a much higher standard, which makes it less likely that you would hold people accountable.
Okay, so Leah, you were obviously really successful in the job market. And again, congratulations on landing such a fantastic job in a fantastic department. The job market is tough on a normal year, as you know, but it's likely going to be even more competitive this year with changes due to COVID, things being online, places not having jobs open. So do you have any words of advice for our listeners who might be on the job market this year?
I mean, I feel for you. I can't imagine, it's like you said, it's stressful anytime, but I'm sure it will be extremely difficult this year and stressful this year. I mean, even if you get interviews, like, are you going to be flying? Or are you just going to Skype? I don't know. So I guess as far as advice, I mean, I think the best advice I have for the job market maybe doesn't apply to people who are going to be on it this fall, but it's to start early, building up work that you've done, building relationships with professors who you've done research with and that you've done a really good job doing research with, so that they can write you really strong letters of recommendation. I think that's part of why I was so lucky on the job market. The people who I had been working with on research, I'd been working with them since I came to UC pretty much, or, within the first year of being at UC. So we had been working on research for years, and they were really able to speak to what I would be like as a colleague, I think. And then I also was able to, get some articles published, which of course helps on the job market. And then I guess to the people who are going on the job market now, assuming that you've already, built up a good record, that you have strong letters of recommendation, I guess my advice would be to prepare a really strong job talk, a great presentation that you can give once you get there. Because, once you've gotten to the stage of doing an on-campus interview, or maybe like a Zoom series of interviews, instead, the department has clearly shown that they're interested in you, that they think you're a strong candidate. And I think that job talk can really just, push you over the edge to show, like, I would be a good colleague. I really know what I'm talking about. I can present, which sort of speaks to your teaching abilities as well. So I think that the job talk is key, and I worked on mine pretty tirelessly leading up to my interviews.
I also wonder, and I wonder your thoughts, since you've been on the job market more recently, but if things go on Skype and Zoom or whatever other form of online, technology, schools decide to use, it could be reflective of like how you could teach online, or, if we have to go in that direction. A lot of schools were going in the direction of putting more online classes, together. But now, you're in the middle of a global pandemic. That's even more important. So I almost wonder if, the importance of your online presence, both in terms of being able to have conversations, over Zoom, or being able to teach over Zoom, would be especially important over this job market. I don't know, but I'd, love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, probably. I think that if you're doing interviews over Zoom, you should probably just treat it like you would an in-person interview, like get dressed up, wear a suit, be ready for any technological problems that might come your way, because of course that's possible on campus as well. You might have a problem bringing up your PowerPoint, so have a plan for that. If you have like handouts that you would have given if you were on campus, like I brought binders like this thick of handouts that wanted to give to everyone, which maybe isn't necessary, but
Handouts? I'm intrigued. What kind of handouts?
well, I did like factor analysis for all of my multi-item measures, so I had tables for every factor analysis results, and then I had all of my regression tables to hand out to show them.
You needed to check a bag just so that you could bring all those with you.
Do not lose this. Airline.
I brought those in my carry-on. Those were
Smart.
Well,
yeah, you know, having the technological setup to show that supplemental material if you need to, and being prepared for all that.
I wonder, do you think that having virtual campus interviews would be more inclusive of different individuals who could be candidates for jobs, maybe people who wouldn't have been able to actually attend an on-campus interview, like if they have kids or couldn't take off from like an adjuncting position or classes, or, you know, some universities don't pay travel up front for job interviews, or maybe not at all. I don't know of any of those, but I'm sure they probably exist somewhere. But you think maybe it would be more inclusive?
Yeah, and I think it might take some of the stress off of doing the interview. You know, like when you're on campus for an interview, you don't really get a moment alone to kind of collect yourself, and you have to, you know, you have to deal with the stresses of flying. I missed my connection on the way out here to Omaha. Thankfully, they were really helpful getting it sorted out. Teresa at Kool-Aid came and picked me up in Lincoln, so it all worked out. But you know, you don't have to deal with that if you're doing it. So
On
Terrifying.
Oh.
Anytime you don't have to deal with the airlines, it's a good day, I think.
yeah,
True.
that can make things easier and make people maybe perform better, you know, if you don't have to deal with all that stress that's not really related to the interview itself.
I mean, I think if things are going to be online too, I mean, it's different, but it's no different than how everybody's always telling you, practice your job talk in front of people. Get on Zoom, get on Skype, and practice with people there, and make sure your delivery is all right via the interwebs.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it'll certainly be interesting. That's for sure. And we're rooting for everyone who is on the job market this year. You know, I think everyone is also sympathetic. Even employers who are, you know, looking for candidates are sympathetic to the times and what's going on. So we're wishing everybody luck. And thank you for sharing your insight on that, Leah. It's probably really nice you're like, I have a job, I'm good. That is awesome that I did this a year earlier. But, you know, I know we're all very sympathetic to everyone who is going on the market and rooting for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
So can you tell us a little bit about what you're going to be teaching in the fall, what kind of style you're going to approach, especially given you're probably going to be teaching online, one would assume?
Yeah, I'll be teaching online. Thankfully, for my first semester, I'll only be teaching one class, and then I'll have, you know, two load from then on out. But I'll be teaching criminology in the fall, which I've taught before, which is another huge help when it comes to being a new faculty member, I think. So I'm really excited to teach again. I didn't teach last year, and, you know, I missed teaching while I wasn't teaching. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be an adjustment for sure because it will be online. My class isn't huge though. I think right now it's, you know, maybe between 20 and 30 people. So I'm hoping to maybe be able to do some like Zoom group discussions. I don't think I'm going to do like simultaneous instruction because it's going to be a little bit too big of a group, I think, to do that really feasibly. So but I would love for them to be able to talk to me and talk to each other. So, you know, if it's 20 people and I did 3 sessions a week where they can get on in smaller groups and talk to me, I would love that, because that's my favorite part of teaching, is talking to my students. And when I teach in person, I usually do like 1 day a week where they do group discussions, and I go around to each group and I get to talk to every single student, and they like it because they're not listening to a lecture for 1 day. And they get to know each other, make friends, and So I hope to be able to bring that online in some way that's feasible and that still like contributes to learning.
That's a really good idea. And I think we're all in the same boat of, like, how are we going to foster, a communication and discussion that helps students grow and helps them learn the material with, being online. So it's getting creative. And I think that's a really, really good approach.
So in addition to teaching, what else are you excited about for the fall?
Well, I'm really excited to get to know the other faculty at UNO. I got to meet all or most of them when I was here for my visit, and I'm just so excited to make friends here, and to make new research connections. There are several people at UNO who study victimology. Teresa, Tara Richards, Emily Wright. I'm so excited to work with them. We've already been sort of talking about what we might do in the future. So it's always fun to form new research groups. And then there are also people in the department who study more of the criminal justice system side and corrections side. So I'm looking forward to working with them too. I'm not sure when I'll actually see any of them in person. But we do Zoom calls every now and then, so
That's awesome.
for Zoom, and maybe one day we'll be able to be on campus again.
Maybe one day you'll be able to see the inside of your office on campus. Get that set up. Well, Leah, we are so thrilled for you and in your new position. We're so excited to get to know you and to have had the opportunity to get to know you and to continue to learn about your work, both on the victimology side as well as the system side. Thank you so much for chatting with us. And we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.
Awesome.
Thanks, Leah. This has been Dive into the DOV. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.